morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Renew Podcast. I am your host, Kristen Andre, and first time in studio with me is we have Kyndal Jackson, who is a content creator, a TikTok expert. So this should be fun because we had a conversation last week for our Renew community where we had a live event, and Kyndal was one of our speakers.
I was.
And so we had to have her on the show because she knows all the things about TikTok. And I love this because you're bringing a different dynamic than the older ones of us that are attempting social media.
Well, I'm glad. I like that. That's really nice too, to call people like an expert in something. I think like a lot of people, especially in business, like struggle to like step into that. Like, I'm the expert in this. So that's nice. Thank you.
I like it. I'm excited because, I use social media a lot. Mm-hmm. And most people will think, oh, you love social, you're always on social. I wouldn't say that I love it. I mean, I think...
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I enjoy keeping up with my friends. And, as I'm sure you'll allude to, the algorithms, the way they work, I only click on positive things. So my feed is good. It's not depressing like everybody else's.
Yeah, I can't relate.
No, right? Well, see, I don't click on anything negative. I stay away from politics and religion online.
Absolutely, yeah.
So my little curated algorithmic feed is just a little happy sunshine and rainbows place.
That's awesome. No, seriously, that's awesome.
It is, because like I would go nuts if I was seeing all the negative stuff. But I think people don't realize that. I use it personally, probably more business. I have help with that, but that's kind of what I want to get into is because, most people get on social media for personal, to keep up with friends, to send inappropriate DMs to people they shouldn't be sending, and all the things. But there's a business use to it, which is what I'm in. As a business strategist, I'm intrigued by it because all of my clients, I'm forcing them on it, and most of the time, not most, a lot of the times they're kicking and screaming.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that too. I don't know. I think business owners think that like social media is some sort of like brand new age type of like marketing tool. And I literally made a TikTok yesterday talking about how like so many business owners will use like shell out thousands of dollars on like outdated like marketing tactics when they could take that money and hire a professional to run their social media and see such a return on their investment.
Which is what I did because I agree with you. And people still use the outdated stuff because I'll have a lot of my clients. I work in professional services. Most of my clients are either higher level executives or, advisors, accountants, attorneys, all I call them the thinky people. We talked about this last week, not creative. Okay. Some of them are personally, but their industries have just been kind of blah. So they just think we mail a postcard, we have a dinner, we do a flyer, but social can, I won't say replace, but it's a really big thing that they have to be doing right now.
It's like casting a net. Like where like I think the postcards they're also intimate where like social media is really awesome for casting your net and kind of reeling in brand new people to like come visit your business or like see your content. Like it is revolutionizing business. It really is.
Now, don't you think with that it casts the net, which I think all of the, I won't say outdated, but let's say outdated. Okay. All the old type of things. Sure. If you're still using them, just keep paying attention.
Yeah, nothing's wrong with it per se,
but you need to supplement because what I love about social is the social aspects. Like you send a postcard, you might hook them, catch them, intrigue them, but the dialogue doesn't continue after that postcard.
Yeah. I think like social media, so I said like, those things are intimate. It's like one of those things where you stay connected, whereas like social media is super intimate and you get to like know what somebody's about, their story, what their message is, who they're reaching. Like there's so many different aspects to finding someone on social media. Even like now where if I go to a restaurant, I'm going to their social media to see like how many followers do they have? Like, is the food really good? Does it look good? Like I'm going to go see the tagged photos to see if people are like posting about it. Like, it's everything. It really is like.
So but a lot of times businesses aren't thinking of it because I do that too. When I need anything, if I need a doctor, a dentist, whatever, I am going on social and saying I need a, seamstress in this area.
Yeah.
And if they're not on there, most of the time I get recommendations. The ones I pay attention to are the ones that tag somebody and say, oh, you need to call this person or check out this business. Because you're right. You can go in and
You can just see everything.
Yeah.
You can see their work. You can see how they interact with their like customers. Like you can kind of determine for yourself whether you want to spend money here or go somewhere else.
Right. And I think it builds the personality too.
Absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit about your voice, because you've talked about that, and I know Laura on our team that talks about that. It's you have to have your own voice. You have to. People need to get to know you and who you are.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid of like putting their own personal touch on their business. They're like, this is my business. It's very rigid. It's very specific.
Why do you think that is?
I think because that's a really good question. I think there's been such a stigma on like mixing personal with business that now there's people really like, doing everything they can to separate the two. And I think now we're kind of coming into this like new moment where it's okay to mix in a bit of that personal with business, because you're going to get people more likely to buy from you because your business has a personality. It's not
you're
just
a real person.
Yeah, you're a real person. People want to see real people behind their screen.
But that's the same as finding your voice, right? Because if, I tend to be a little sassy and I sarcastic, and I feel like if I didn't come across that way in social, it would seem boring and dry. But that was hard. It's I talk a lot about finding your people and knowing your audience and really your target market.
Yeah,
and my target market resonates with that. But a lot of people don't. And I said that to somebody the other day. I'm like, not for everyone.
Not for everybody.
If I'm not, then I'm not their person, and that's okay.
That's okay.
So how do you convince people that have businesses and are trying to create their own voice to truly just do it? Just go with your voice, because some people are a little wackadoodle out there. And we gotta. That's one of my favorite words. I love that word.
That's funny.
I mean, the wackadoodle people have people too.
Yeah, everybody has somebody.
Wackadoodle
People have their own wackadoodle people. I think everybody has somebody that they're going to connect with. I made that connection a long time ago. I was like afraid to put myself out there and like really just be who I was. And I was like, well, if I like this kind of stuff, like if I'm interested in a specific set of interests, somebody else is too. So I need to be honest about the fact that I am interested in this, and I will find my people. But yeah, like you said, you're not going to be for everybody. So I think, and you can't service everybody either, right? Why not service the people who need you?
Well, and that's what a lot of small business, most of my clients, I think most of your clients too, are probably small to mid-sized businesses. They're not, they're not Coca-Cola that's trying to hit everyone. Even Chick-fil-A is not trying to hit everyone.
No, they're not.
That's a good example, because they're a very large company based here in Atlanta, and they speak to their audience for sure.
Yeah, and I think I think we talked about like controversy a little bit, but like some people are very specific about who they're targeting, and they can be quite polarizing. But at the end of the day, who they're targeting is who they're targeting, and that's it.
Well, and I think that's interesting, because you think about finding your voice and being authentic to yourself. And I have a few of my private clients who are extremely polarizing on social. And I've given them that feedback. I'm like, just so you're aware, here is how it's coming across. Here is the demographic you are completely discounting and they, I said, as long as you know that, they're like, I'm good.
Okay.
And I'm like,
they're good with that.
They were good with it, and they were speaking to their audience, and they've amassed a following of very fiercely loyal people that all think the same way.
Absolutely. I think trying to reach
everybody. That's
everybody.
a little scary on either side, but it happens.
Yeah, but like trying to reach everybody, you might literally reach no one.
Right.
You got to stick to a message. You got to stick to something.
So I like that a lot, trying to hone in on your voice, hone in on who your people are. So my phrase, I use this a ton on the show: know your people, find your people, love them hard. So knowing them is identifying your target market. Finding them, I think, to your point, is when you create the right content, that it's not that you're seeking them, they find you.
Yeah.
So how do you, when you're creating content for clients or, for your own business, how do you figure out what types of content are right? Because, there's so many different businesses out there.
Yeah. So I can literally tell you a story. I think I like working with people I think I know how to target. So like for me, I love working with women or women targeting like businesses. I know how to target women.
Yep.
I worked for a contractor for a little bit of time, and his target demographic was like women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who had homes who wanted them renovated.
Yeah.
And so it was really easy to kind of utilize like his personality and the things that he was doing to our advantage to reach those women, and it was very easy because we knew who we were targeting. So
if you know your people, you know it's the pain
Yeah.
point. It's knowing their pain point and figuring out how do we speak to them? How do we solve a problem?
absolutely.
that they
I think
have.
if you don't know what your audience's pain point is, you're missing like the way to make content. So like I always say, like education based content is amazing too, because you are like speaking to people's pain points. You're speaking to like many different problems that people are having, whether you think they have it or not. Like similarly, when I worked with that contractor, I told him, you should do a video teaching people how to like hang curtains. And he was like, well, that's very simple. I was like, to you.
To you, it is. I don't know how to hang a curtain.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I stumbled upon, I would watch this
Yeah.
video because it's, it's basic skills, but like, I don't know how
Basic
to do
skills for people that aren't us.
it. Right. I don't know
Right.
how to do that. So I'm like,
Well, but that's true because if you think about in that example, those of us that don't know how to hang curtains are the ones that are going to hire contractors.
absolutely.
If it was basic to them, they're probably not hiring a contractor for something simple.
Yeah, and I think he was also worried that if I taught people how to do it, then they would do it themselves. And I'm like, maybe some people, but also a lot of people would see all the steps that go into
Right.
it. And I'm just going to hire him. He looks great.
Exactly. He looks fantastic. But that's a good point because frequently, and I've seen, as social media has evolved, I see some people, the so-called gurus, I hate that word, but it's the people that'll say, oh, you should do this, you should do that, charge for this, do this. I tend to be more of an abundant thinker where I think you should give a lot of content. Now, obviously it's a business. You still want to, get clients at the end or anything, but from a content standpoint, you're talking about solving pain points. I personally feel like the more stuff we give out for free, the more information, the more we're able to solve their problem, the more loyal they're going to be, the more they like us. So what's your thought on that in terms of free content, how-to content, all the tips?
I think it's one of those things where you have to know your limit, right? Like I don't do a certain number of things on my TikTok channel because I'm like, you have to pay for that. That's a lot of work. But when it goes into like, I did a series where I help people come up with ideas for their niche. And that was something that spoke to people's pain points because people are like, okay, I have my niche. Now what?
Right.
I don't know what to do with that. So I think it know your boundaries on social media, which I would tell anybody like starting out. Know your boundary, but speak to those pain points and teach people how to do them themselves. Because at the end of the day, if they're going to do it themselves, they'll do it themselves. But most people don't want to do it themselves. They're coming to you for help. They're coming to you for information. If you can like provide some sort of trust between them and like keep like nourishing that like relationship, they'll eventually come to you and make you do
you don't
the
have
work.
to give it all away, but give away
yeah.
enough that they know you're an expert, that they know you would be able to help them.
Absolutely.
That's kind of what I look for, is like, could this person help me if I were going to hire them?
Are they specific enough? Can they speak to the things that I need to have done? Okay, I guess I'll go for it.
Right. So let's talk. So I know you do a ton of TikTok.
Yeah.
Which is, as you know, not my favorite.
Not your forte.
Platform.
That's okay.
It's not my forte, and we're getting into the TikTok.
Yeah.
I have signed up for a TikTok account.
Woo!
I have yet to tick or talk, but it's coming. So
TikTok,
we had you speak to our Renew community last week about TikTok, and we had you, and that's one of your areas. And then Quavi was on our panel as well, who
so awesome.
is so awesome, and she's over 50 and has a big following on TikTok.
Yeah.
So the first question I have to ask, because I'm looking at the people that are watching, and I know some of you guys have TikTok, but a lot of you guys do not.
Okay.
So
let's change that.
Let's change it. It's intimidating. I mean, I'll be the first one to say, I do a ton of media. I am on camera. I speak. I do that. But I hate being on camera. I am the minute.
You're doing great.
As long as I don't look at the camera, I'm
Sure.
fine. So for me, if I'm doing a media appearance, if I'm doing anything, I'm being filmed, I don't think twice about it.
Okay.
I get into the content. My challenge for me personally with TikTok has been, I'm looking at this little phone and it's looking back at me.
Yeah.
And it's intimidating to try to do this. And most of my friends that I've spoken with that have been, I won't say averse to TikTok, but that have just been a little bit like, how do I get started? What do I do? I mean, there's an intimidation factor to being on camera.
There is.
How do we get over that?
Practice. Like at the end of the day, it really is like sitting in front of you. Sometimes you just set your camera up and just start talking to it like it's your friend. Think about
the camera is your friend.
The camera is your friend. Okay. But at the end of the day, maybe pretend like you're on a FaceTime call, like you're talking to somebody. Like that part, like you have to kind of get into this habit of speaking and being comfortable speaking on camera, because
Right.
it's really just part of it. But if you are really like that uncomfortable, there are plenty of tactics. You could always just turn the camera around so you don't have to see yourself. Like,
See, that's probably a better, because I have no problem talking, shocking as that may be. It's the just looking at myself on my camera, because I'll be sit there and I'll have a great message and I'll know what I want to say. And I'm like, oh, I've got a hair sticking out, or I've got this, or I've got
yeah.
that. And none of my friends that do this all the time, even they're like, I had no idea. I didn't, but they're not looking at that.
No.
But we think they are.
No one cares. Like, I think at the end of no one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares about literally anything, especially if you're like providing good content. If anything too, like if they care that much, they'll leave a comment, which boosts your engagement anyway. So just let them kind of talk about what's going on in the background, or if you have like a free, what is it called? Like a flyaway, you know, who cares? Like, I think we tend to put so much emphasis on the little things that no one else is paying attention to.
So we're the only ones noticing those.
We're the only people doing that. Like, no one cares. I do not look at people that heavily when I'm on social media at all. Like, ever.
Yes, you're from the judgment-free generation.
I totally disagree. I think we are very judgmental.
Judgy Gen Xers here. Well, no, I think everybody's judgmental to a point, but with what you're saying, it fits the fact that we're the most judgmental of ourselves.
Yeah, no,
and the most critical of ourselves.
We are very critical of ourselves, and I think I do think it is a generational thing, but I think everybody tends to be very critical. But at the end of the day, I know it's like brand new for some people, but I think I grew up like kind of talking to my camera. So to me, it's like it's quite literally
second nature.
It is second nature. It feels like home.
A lot of it does. And when a lot of us that grew up without social media, I mean, you won't remember this, but your mom will remember this.
Sure.
When the only pictures we had growing up is we took pictures with a camera. We had to take the film and develop it, and we had to drive to like the photo store. This was even before Walgreens started doing it. So you drive and you get your pictures back, and you look, and half of them of your thumb over the lens. So they're terrible and they're grainy. So no one ever knew. I was in my probably 40s before I knew what I looked like on camera, just because I'd never really had to do it. I'm probably not that old, but I never really had to do it. I think social media came out probably when I was in my 30s, late 30s. So we're just not used to it. Like the kids my kids will just jump on camera and FaceTime and whatever. But you're right, they don't care. It's just, this is how we are.
It's just a second nature. But I think that's a really interesting point, though. It's like this nostalgia factor that you're kind of like bringing in. I don't know. I really like that you guys kind of just did things and did not care about how it turned out.
Well, and the other thing is, it wasn't being documented. So I could not imagine. I was a good kid. I was the rule follower in our family. Out of my brother and I was the rule follower. He may disagree with that, but I'm gonna stick with that.
Okay.
So I didn't get in a lot of trouble, but until I got to college. But I can't imagine like now. I think that's part of it. It's like all of us, the parent generation, we're all going, oh my gosh, if all of our lives were captured on social, goodness great. I can't imagine the pressure coming up in a social media world. So I think you get that and you switch it to business for, those of us in our 40s, 50s and beyond. It's intimidating. It's like, oh, all of my stuff is going to go online.
Yeah. I mean, Liz, it's not as scary as it sounds.
I do it anyway because I'm a feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, for
except
sure.
for TikTok, I'm working on it.
Okay, so what do you think is your biggest like drawback from TikTok? Like, what is scary?
Laura's in the studio. She's going to grab a mic in a minute. she's gonna go on air and tell you all of my things.
Yeah, what is your biggest fear?
For me, I think part of it is needing to. I'm a scheduler. I'm a time blocker because I'm a strategy person. I need to put it in my calendar and just say, okay, I'm going to record. And I did that last week.
Okay, good.
I did because I was given the assignment by Laura to shoot, 5 or 10 little teeny 15-second clips. The two hardest things for me, the first one was figuring out what it was I was going to talk about.
Okay.
So that was one. And then the second one is I recorded them, I did them. Watching them back, I was like, oh, I don't like how that looks.
Okay.
So I need to forget that. You said forget how it looks.
Almost quietly, yeah.
But in terms of content.
Yeah.
Like I know what, I feel like I know my target audience. I know what would speak to them. So from a TikTok standpoint, is it just talking to the camera about something, or how do you curate your content?
Yeah, it's a little like, so it's talking to the camera, but it's talking in a specific way. It's talking to, grab somebody's attention. So instead of saying like, I know this. Listen to me. Here's 5 tips that you have to understand before you start your business.
Okay.
Boom. Immediately someone's like, okay, well, what are those 5 tips? And it depends on how you sort of like go on to articulate those 5 tips, but keeping people engaged because people's attention spans, it's not happening.
Oh, I know.
It's
I'm
not
right
happening.
there with them. Yeah.
But they're listening and they're on your every word. Like, okay, well, what are these 5 tips and how helpful are they going to be? If you can kind of figure out how to simplify things to where it's easy to understand. Everybody should be able to understand what you're saying.
So it does better. I have heard that you give them a number. Here's 3 tips, 5 tips, or whatever.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, you could do that. You could obviously give 3, 5 tips. You could give 10, but even at the end of the day, here's the biggest mistake I made when I started my business.
Okay. You need to grab it.
You need a hook. Especially if you're going to sit down and make content or you're going to talk to your camera, something that's not like, ooh, dynamic flashing lights. It's like, okay, well, what kind of value are you providing and how are you positioning yourself in a way that people are going to listen to that value?
So with that, how long do we need? And so let's talk about TikTok, and then, I use a lot of other platforms. So I know TikTok tends to be shorter, correct?
Yeah. They have the 3-minute feature.
That seems a long time.
I do it all the time though. I do.
Will you listen to a 3-minute video?
Yeah. Depending on how they start it and what the content is itself, absolutely.
Okay.
But I think if you're just starting out, you're kind of trying to gain people and bring people in.
Yep.
That 30-second to 1 minute mark is like.
Can we do them shorter? Can I do 15 minutes? You
could do 15
second.
Text overlay is also really great on that app. So even if you didn't want to speak at all, if you just wanted to point on the screen or just stand there or, have a nice clip in the background and just give you
So let's talk about the text overlay for a minute, because I tend to scroll social in between appointments, in between, in at times where I shouldn't have the audio on. Okay. So I love personally, I love text overlay because I am much more likely to read it than I am to listen to it because I usually have the audio turned off.
Yeah.
So with that, is that something that's automatically done, or do I have to type that stuff in there?
Yeah, you have to type that in there. But which
is good because it never understands what I'm saying. It'll come up with weird words.
Well, they have the auto-generated captions, which is totally fine. You can always edit those.
Yep.
But if you're talking about finding a clip of something and then putting a message. I think Quavi had a really great example the other day. And for those who, weren't able to tune in, it was, she said that she had a video of her on the beach that her husband had took of her. So it was just a random video. And she had done a text overlay, and it was women over 50, over 60, over 80 and beyond. It was I can't remember what the exact message was, but it was
she said it was it's never too late.
It's never too late to start or something like that. Boom. That's it. It's that simple to kind of get your message out there, get your point across. That's
I think
vibe.
Those, for me personally, those would be, Laura, we're taking note of this. Those would be easier for me. I think it's just looking in the camera and see my big old mug there. I don't want to see my face all day in the camera. So I love that where you can read it. And that just could, because that's how I like to receive the information as well. So it's probably good to mix it up and do a little of each.
I was going to say, I think it's great, especially if you're trying to reach a certain audience, if you're trying to give out information, but I think that beautiful mix of getting to know who you are as a person as well. Yeah. So if I go on your page and kind of stalk you a little bit, I want to be able to kind of tell okay, who is this person? Why should I follow them? Do I vibe with their with their vibe, what's going on here? Yeah. So I think, that is excellent for delivering information.
So let's stick on the vibe thing for a while, because I do love that, and I'm a vibe person, even in my 50s. I'm a vibe person because I can tell if I like somebody or would connect with them immediately.
Yeah, me too.
Immediately. And I don't know why. It's just I've always been on the vibe person, and it's funny because I never thought about it that way, but I'll have clients of mine that are, a lot of my financial advisor clients are like, well, I just didn't vibe with them. I just didn't vibe. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So people they realize that. So if your feed doesn't have you in it, which, that's what we're working on with mine, is trying to get me out there more, aside just from the podcast or speaking. But if your social media feed doesn't have you, somebody can't vibe with static content.
With you, yeah.
And I know Instagram's not, I love Instagram. We use that a lot. We use Facebook a lot. And that tends to be a little bit more static, but there's still an opportunity to put some of those videos in and things like that, so people get to know you as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. Even in the way that you write these captions, or in the way that you would kind of disseminate that information on the text overlay, like that's your personality, like kind of coming out, like what you stand for. Kwabi's really good at, like, inspiring people. Like that's one of her pillars of content, is inspiring women over 50 to keep pursuing their dreams or keep doing what they're doing. But a lot of what we're kind of talking about with the personality thing, it's really nice to see a face and hear a voice and be able to kind of put something to that. I've followed random people on TikTok just because something came up and I was like, oh, I like how they, I like how they show up.
Yeah. Well, and I do the same thing, because I do like the one that are spunky and sassy and just fun. Like fun is a big thing for me. So I'm tending to follow that. But, so frequently, I think that's been part of my hesitation, is so frequently I get so serious. I mean, I do strategy all day long, so I can get real serious real quick if I'm trying to go into content. But it's just letting your personality show.
It's letting your personality shine through. And that doesn't always mean dancing. I know you're...
Thank you for that, because,
that doesn't mean dancing.
It doesn't mean because when we had the event last week and you spoke for our Renew community, that was the biggest question. But it's like, well, I don't dance. Because that's how it started. It started with my children doing little dance. Now, I know some of the dances because they've made me do them before.
And they're fun, and they're really fun.
Yeah, might be an exaggeration, but,
I work up a sweat. Okay, yeah, maybe it is. It's too frustrating.
Work up a sweat because we have to do them like 10 times in a row
before
to get
it right. Yeah.
But I mean, that's how it started. But where I feel like TikTok is evolving, at least in my eyes, is it's becoming the new YouTube. It's becoming where people search for information. And I did not realize that until recently, that this platform is where prospective clients and prospective buyers are going to research things.
Yeah,
because you can search
everywhere.
it.
I think about how, like, the other day I was looking for like a hair tutorial, and I didn't Google, I didn't go to YouTube. I went straight to TikTok. One, because it's quick. Two, it's like simple. It's going to be really easy to digest. That it is a search engine at this point, and I think they're still reworking the algorithm to make it a little bit more search engine friendly, but I mean, it is a powerful, like, search engine. People are offering all kinds of things on TikTok now.
And that's what's funny is when it first came out, I didn't see it as that. I didn't see it as I just saw it as a fun platform for mostly younger kids.
I think it took a while too for it to
the
become
brands
that.
Figured out that that's a place to be. I mean, that's where a lot of people are going to do, put their content out there.
Absolutely. And in the fact that, whereas on Instagram, I think Instagram is a great platform to stay connected, right? So on Instagram, you can post something and it will reach your followers. And if you have 200 likes, these are most likely your followers that are liking.
Right.
If you go on TikTok and you get 1,000 views and 200 likes, you don't know who those 200 people are.
Right.
They could easily, like, they're 200 brand new people, 1,000 brand new views.
Right.
Like, each video you post reaches a different person.
Which is it's
is
just way to
incredible.
expand. So I like, we're going to use all the platforms. And again, I said this last week, I'm just diving in. So what are, people that are thinking about TikTok? Because I don't feel like it's an option at this point. I feel like all of the platform, I love Insta, Facebook. I use Twitter some. LinkedIn I like a lot. So TikTok will be the one we're adding. We're obviously on YouTube as well, but I feel like you've got to look at, not that you have to be an expert on all of them, but you need to have a presence. So as we dive into TikTok in particular, since that's one of your babies, one of your areas of expertise, how do we get started? What are some tips in terms of videos that we could do according to our business? Because I know it's different for every business. So what would you suggest content video wise? What do people need to be doing? You mentioned a few.
So content and video wise, introduce yourself first and foremost. Like, who are you? What's your story? What are you about? And then make a video for your target audience specifically. Okay. Think about, like, the biggest pain point your target audience has, and how can you kind of deliver that information in a quick video. Do 5 things somebody needs to know about in your industry. What's something you need to do before you get started? Like, think about somebody literally starting from scratch. They're coming to you for advice on whatever your niche is or whatever your business is.
They don't know anything about you.
They don't know anything about you at all. What do they need to know? They need to know who you are.
Right.
Like, number one.
Right.
But they need to know how to start. or whatever. If you're a product-based business, I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think TikTok is really into aesthetics right now. So I think, getting, yourself some really nice shots of your product is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Showing the functionality of it. Like, what can people use it for? Is it sustainable in a way that I can use it for 4 different things? Or is it just like one piece of art or whatever the case may be? I want to see your process.
Right.
I want to know like how you're able to do things. If you are an artist or whatever your case may be, like, show me a day in your life.
Yeah.
Show me like the things that like what goes on day to day. Like, these are all just like do. Like, I'm throwing a lot of things at you, but the possibilities, I think what I'm trying to say is the possibilities of content are literally endless.
So we've got, if I'm looking at listening, Amy, who has her personality plate, she's listening, and she has a product, and they're gorgeous, and they're fun, and you can show them. And Lynn, who follows this, is an artist, an abstract artist, so she can do her stuff.
Yeah.
I am in business, and Dan made a good point. He just said people either stand out by being themselves or they blend in. I agree. I completely agree with you, Dan. So my question is for the people who are in service related industries, and I don't mean service like restaurants or anything where you could show a location, but attorneys, accountants, consultants, financial advisors, coaches, all of us, our day in the life is me holding a phone to my head or on a Zoom call. So how do we make something that I would think we can solve a lot of problems? So I get the content about that,
Totally.
but if just to look at us might be boring.
Sure. Okay, so I thought the same way. I was like, okay, my day in the life is going to be rather boring, but surprisingly, and especially like depending on how you shoot it, it can look really interesting. I think like people nowadays are doing like day in the lives of their like corporate jobs. So I'll go on TikTok and I'll see somebody that works at HBO.
Right.
And easily I'm going to be like, okay, they work from home. How is this going to be an interesting vlog? But they have a cute apartment, and they're like, oh, I'm going to make my coffee, and now I'm going to sit down at my desk, and it's like boring, quote unquote, but it's still entertaining, and people are going to watch it. And maybe it's relaxing. Maybe it like does something for you. And so it's like, I think you're like, oh, I'm on calls all day. Maybe you can show a snippet of those calls. What's like the biggest golden nugget of information you gave like a client today? Or like, what was your favorite part of the day? Can you show that in a video? So as far as, I think if anybody thinks no one thinks you're boring. I don't know how to like phrase that in a better way, but like
my kids think I'm boring.
Your kids are.
They're not going to watch my TikTok.
How old are your kids?
I don't know. I forget. No.
Right. Like,
they range from 12 to 23, and they don't watch my stuff anymore.
Yeah, they're not your target audience.
No,
yeah, absolutely. Forget them. Like
they don't listen to me when I'm talking normally, so they're not going to listen to me online.
They're cool though. No shade, but like
they're not your lots of shade. But lots of shade. But it's true. I mean, I think we've had a couple comments. So Amy said she listens to people that make her laugh, and I agree with that.
Awesome. Okay.
Tommy, who's a financial advisor, says, show off those sexy financial plans. See, Tommy's saying pie charts, and no, I'm teasing. I think it would be, because to his point, a lot of it's boring, but you're right. The behind the scenes, the life stuff. So it doesn't necessarily, it could be what we're doing, prepare.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be as specific. So like I'm speaking to the pie charts moment. Sure. But the pie charts and the content have to be easily digestible to somebody who would never understand what you're saying.
Right.
So is there a way that you can break down the pie chart and be able to like point
say, here's
and
what
say,
this
is what this means, and deliver that in an entertaining way, an interesting way. And it doesn't even have to be funny. It just is like, okay, it's captivating, it's grabbing, it's not like I'm learning something from watching you. That's all that really matters.
Well, I like that. I mean, I like that because then it gets to know us, and it doesn't always have to be. I mean, I could do an entire TikTok on my addiction to energy drinks.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I
think I'm still trying to get Rockstar to pay attention, and because these puppies are hard to find. But
Rockstar sponsor,
sponsored by I'm telling you, it'd be
a goal, a dream.
I'm on Rockstar number 2 this morning, folks.
Okay.
Fine, folks. So I don't drink coffee, but that could be something. Is how you stay. Not that it's the best advice for people out there, but that is behind the scenes. Like everybody that knows me knows what I drink. They know that there's basically 2 beverages I drink. I am trying to get more water. So that can be a thing. But I think between Rockstar and wine, that's kind of a good thing. It's a good behind the scene thing. See, there we go. Before I even said it, I get the comments, energy drinks and wine. See?
Yep.
The audience knows.
They know
my
who
people,
you
my
are.
People know
They know who you are. And I think it's funny, too. You could do a day in the life and be like, I'm on my second Rockstar today. It's a very simple, like, throw in. But they're like, oh, she loves Rockstar. If it's something that's, like, very consistent, It's part of your brand.
Yes.
It's like part of you.
Well, and that's less intimidating to me because I mean, we've got the rock star and wine joke. The other thing is I wear the same color every day. I am 99.9% black attire
Absolutely.
all the time. And I love it. And I've had people tell me you shouldn't wear all black, and I tell them you shouldn't tell me what to wear.
Don't tell people what to wear. Absolutely.
I think there's an element of that. I'm a little less intimidated, Laura. I think we might be able to get on TikTok.
Okay,
now.
that's the goal. That's the goal. That's awesome.
She's going to hold me to this and make me do this. I know it.
And you should. I'm looking at Laura right now, and you should.
She's back there either laughing or crawling under a table. I don't know which one.
She looks like she's having a good time, so that's all that matters, I guess.
But I think that taking the intimidation factor out of it. So the content is good. So how do we, different types of content, you've given us good ideas on that. How do we best prepare?
Okay.
Like, do you advise that we schedule a block of time and shoot a bunch of stuff? How do we prepare for?
Yes, immediately.
For our takeover of TikTok.
I tell people take a couple hours out, and especially when you're starting out, like really just give yourself a lot of time. A lot of time to screw up, a lot of time to reshoot, feel your oats, whatever you need to do. And like take the time out, make sure you know what you're shooting before you go into it. So I love my notes app because the way the way my brain works, and I know it's going to be different for everybody. The way my brain works is I'm like, okay, I have this idea. I saw this trend. How can I relate that back to my niche? Okay, So I'll write out all my stuff and I'll take like 3-4 hours of my time and I'll just shoot the content. I'm like, okay, video 1 done. Video 2, let's go. Video 3. And then I've been doing a lot of vlogs lately. I've been doing a lot of like get ready with me's and like all that good stuff.
You did that before we went on air.
I'm vlogging my day-to-day life and stuff. And that I even vlogged the event the other day. Yeah. So like it's, somebody I think on TikTok had said, set an alarm for like every hour to just film whatever is around you. Just like do a nice little pan or like, whatever you're doing. If you're at the grocery store, like film yourself getting a little whatever, like just shoot something. That's how you kind of get your like lifestyle daily vlog content. But like, I think a lot of people just have to understand that like the filming and the shooting and the preparing is like, it is a big portion of it. And I think it's going to help a lot.
I think that's where people fall down, at least myself too, is if you can prepare. Yeah, I'm a prepare, but I tend to also be somewhat of an overthinker and tend to go, say there's eyes rolling all over the studio here, but I tend to overthink it. Yeah. So if I can block 3 hours, I like your idea of the notes page. Yeah. Because then if I can think through it, my challenge is when I haven't prepared and I'm just trying to
off the fly.
Now I can do that in a speaking engagement or a podcast all day long. But in terms of something on video, I feel like you need time to script it out. I'm not a scripter.
Well, I sometimes I script my video. So like if you're not a scripter, totally fine. I think, at a speaking engagement, you can save yourself. On TikTok, you kind of can bounce back. On TikTok, it's like, okay, now I got to like delete that part and start all over. Okay. And I love to like, okay, if I have my video, I'm going to talk through. Sometimes I'll even put on my voice record and I'll just start like going bleh. Yep. And 5 minutes of me just talking, listen to that back and take the golden nuggets out of it. So it's simplified.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, this is what people actually need to hear from that 5-minute thing. That's why I do my 3-minute thing on TikTok. I don't care. But scripting that out or like even outlining. Is really helpful.
I work off bullet points a lot. I call the sound bites. I like the sound bites. But part of it is what you're saying is just do it. Amy just commented that you made her do it. And it was worth it. And I think that's what Laura does to do. She's like, you just have to do this. Yeah. And so I think what's funny is it's not scary at all to me. I probably overthink like, is this the right thing? Is this going to be life-changing for everyone that listens? And I think that's too much. That's too much pressure to put on.
Not every video is going to reach 1 million views. Like not every video is going to even do numbers. Right. Like you have to sometimes humble beginnings, right? Like sometimes especially if you're starting from 0, it's going to be a minute before you really start seeing the traction that you're trying to see. Just focus on providing value. Focus on having fun.
Yes.
And focus on literally just getting something up. Try to do it every day. Like just do it, exercise. It's literally like it's exercising a muscle.
Well, and I think the going live or the vlogging is going to be a good way to do it because you're not overthinking. You're just like, here I am.
Here's my day.
Yeah.
Easy.
And we've got, if they block from a time standpoint, I know you said you blocked 3 hours. And I think I can't hear the audible gasp of the audience, but I'm going to guess a lot of them went, I don't have 3 hours. So is it, fine. I mean, do you start with what you have?
Yeah, start with what you have.
I would argue everybody's got 3 hours. You make time for what's important.
Yeah. Even if it's like throughout the day. Like it doesn't have to be a straight 3 hours. It could be, 30 minutes here. I have 30 minutes. Let me go shoot video 1. Okay. And throughout your day, whatever you have to do, get your content, girl. Like do what you need to do.
Yeah. Well, it is part of your business. I don't believe it's optional anymore.
I totally agree with you. It is not optional. It is a absolute must. And if you have to hire out or get help or whatever you need to do that. I highly encourage everyone to do that.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because I feel like so many people, and I know not everybody can hire somebody, but I do think this is part of their business.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously have people that run the podcast, and you guys are awesome.
Yeah,
but
they're awesome.
Yeah, but it also takes pressure off me to be able to run my business, to be able to work with my clients, to do the things that the strategy work that I'm good at. So I completely think hiring a social media person, hiring a business development producers, all that stuff is hugely worth it.
If you have the means.
I've hired them when I don't have the means. Because here's the thing, if you, from a business standpoint, if you want to scale, you have to be willing to invest in your business.
Totally agree.
So
I think it's an abundance mindset.
It's an abundance mindset. I will spend money I don't have.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've got, there's a lot of areas of my business where they are costing me significantly more than I'm making off of them right now. But I know that that's an impactful area of the business that will grow.
It's a return on your investment.
It is a return. So, if you're putting in money up front and saying, hey, I need somebody to handle this social media, I need somebody to handle this, what do they look for when they're, if somebody that's listening wants to outsource this, what do they look for?
Someone you vibe with.
Okay.
Someone.
We're back to the vibes.
Yeah, we're back to the vibes, but someone that will understand your mission and what you're trying to accomplish. At the end of the day, there's end goals. So, for businesses, most of the time the end goal is to brand awareness.
Yes.
And then increase your revenue.
Yes.
So if somebody is talking to you and you're vetting someone to be your social media manager or whatever, and they're not really hitting those points of interest that you need, not your person.
Right.
If you don't vibe with their energy, not your person. If they're not talking about, or if they're not hitting or providing you with all your needs, not your person. Yeah. If you're not seeing results after a long period of time, you've tried everything.
How long do you try it?
Man, I honestly give it. Ooh, that's a really good question. 6 to 9 months.
My guess was gonna be at least 6.
6 to 9 months, at least, just give it that consistently with that. Yeah.
Well, and because it takes time. It does take time. I know and I agree with exactly what you're saying, because when Laura and I started working together, that was saying we get along. She gets it. She's bought in. Some days she keeps me bought in on the days I'm not. It's just you have the vibe. I think that's hugely.
It is huge.
Hugely important. So for your clients, it's really about you doing the stuff. Are you doing it all for them? Or are you just kind of helping them? Because I know both. Laura just kind of she gently nudges me along to do, but keeps it all on the rails.
No, I do both. So depending on, what it is, I'm going to go back to my contractor client. I couldn't make it to a lot of his shoots. They're not shoots. They were, he was doing renovations. And I taught him, I'm like, okay, here's how you need to hold the camera, or teaching somebody else how to hold the camera and get certain shots. You don't have to film everything, but get the stuff that matters. If you're going to tear down a cabinet, I need to see that.
You want to see the hammer going through the wall. I would watch that.
I need to see that immediately. Yeah. So teaching him, okay, these are the important parts. Get this. Here's how to angle the camera. Give it back to me. I'm handling all the strategy, editing, all that good stuff.
Well, and that's where I think the experts come in, is knowing what to shoot, knowing how to edit. Editing is big.
Editing is huge.
Editing is very, very
big skill. So. If you could learn how to edit your kind of set,
But I think that's good. So if you're not gonna, if you can invest, I highly recommend that, just because it makes sense and it frees you up to do what you're good at.
Totally.
I know what I'm good at. It is not editing, but it's a critical skill.
It is a critical skill.
But when you talk about editing for a second, you're saying just cleaning up what you recorded.
Yeah.
You're not talking about this big. It doesn't have to be this big fancy schmancy.
No. Just cut it down to the minute that you kind of need to do. Cut it down, get the important parts, and just kind of leave it.
Do we need to take out the part of me reaching to hit record?
Absolutely.
That's what I always see. I'll record it, and I'm like, there's my arm going up, there's my arm going down. Yeah. So I try to trim it to where.
Yeah, trim it and just get those important parts. What are the parts people actually are gonna see, need to hear immediately. Get that out there. You're good. That's really all that matters. But yeah.
I like it. This is good. All right. So biggest takeaways, if you were, for everybody listening, I like this. I mean, y'all gonna have to hold me to this though.
I will.
I know. You and Laura are gonna gang up on me.
Yeah,
I'm
it's the
scared
two
to
of us.
leave. I can't see Laura. She's behind me. For those of you guys that aren't watching live, so
she's giggling.
They're shooting looks at each other. So I feel like I could be in trouble after this one.
You might.
But all right. So from an accountability standpoint, because that's critical for me.
Absolutely.
When people are listening and say, "Okay, I'm going to do this," like Amy does some TikTok. We had somebody at our event last week that literally signed up for TikTok while we were there.
That's awesome.
And she's like, "I got to do this now." So how do you hold yourself accountable?
Get you a friend and make her do it too. Like, get you somebody that is also very serious and hold each other to it. But at the end of the day, you have to like be super interested in your own development, right? And it's like, okay, if I know that TikTok is going to be the situation I need, I'm just going to have to post it, and I'm going to have to, look away and, go on with my life. But like, sometimes you have to hold yourself accountable.
Right.
But
well, it's true, because we all start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think when the other platforms came on, when we've the podcast, we're coming up on 5 years on the Renew podcast.
Which is awesome.
Which is so fun. Like, we started podcasting before podcasting was, before the pandemic, where everybody launched one. But we've had it so long, and I remember the first episode, because I was told that we're going live, we're going to film it, and I was like, we're going to do what?
Yeah.
And so I remember I brought a friend. I literally brought a friend to my first day of filming, because I was like, please don't make me go by myself. Yeah. So it was just, now I don't think twice about it. I mean, we've got 87,000 cameras in here. I don't think about it anymore.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, I get your point.
Yeah, you find your groove.
I'm convincing myself here.
Yeah.
I'm talking myself up.
Yeah, and you should. It's everybody finds their groove eventually. Like, what is it? Sometimes the first draft is gonna be really bad.
Yeah.
That's what the rough draft is for. But like, you put yourself out there, you do your thing, you're gonna find your audience in the meantime, and then you find your groove. Then you find how to film things. Then you find
Kristen's
style.
getting her groove back.
Yeah.
Or maybe getting it. I don't know if it's getting it back. I don't know that I had it, but that's all right.
No. You have the groove.
I like it. So as we wrap, give me 3 tips for our audience. I'm totally catching you off guard.
I know.
So 3 out of everything we talked about, what are the 3 biggest things you want them to remember when it comes to not just TikTok, but social in general?
Know your target audience and your message. Create value, entertain, inspire, educate your audience, and just post it.
I love it. Those are good. Man, on the fly.
I know.
You're good.
I was sitting here and I was like,
I know. I like that. See, this is why she can create videos so quick.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Well, Kyndal, thank you for being with us. We'll make sure we drop her links and everything in our comments. But thank you guys for listening. I hope you take these tips and put them in your business, put them in your life, and let's go have some fun with this.
Yes.
So I will see you guys on TikTok, and we will see you again next week for another edition of the Renew Podcast.
Thanks for having me. Bye.